John Dewey was a champion of democratic morality. For John Dewey, morality was socially driven. So John Dewey opposed religious morality. John Dewey opposed using the Holy Bible, the New Testament and the Old Testament as a moral guide or moral compass for America or America's institutions. John Dewey opposed all religious authority, Christian ethics, Christian morality, Christian law, such as canon law, as a guide or a determinant of morality in America or America's institutions. John Dewey rather emphasized that morality should be determined by the community, because democracy is the rule by majority of the people. John Dewey emphasized people as determining morality, and John Dewey rejected God as moral authority. And so John Dewey emphasized that people should decide what is moral in society, even if it directly opposes the Holy Bible and Christian ethics or Christian law or Christian traditions for 2,000 years. And John Dewey emphasized that this democratic morality should be unified in America, both in school and at home or church. So John Dewey did not like the fact that some people had different morality at home or in private and had another morality in school or in public sphere. So John Dewey pushed to unify morality for everyone in the American society, whether they are at home or at school or at work or at church. And this morality was to be determined by the people and not by the Holy Bible. And so democratic process was emphasized by John Dewey in his push for ethics in American society, America's workplace, America's homes, America's public schools. So John Dewey saw the purpose of the public school educational system as a way of pushing a democratic ethical system or democratic concept of social justice. And so John Dewey believed that this perception of democratic ethics should be unified in its enforcement in the public school system and in every institution in a democratic society. So democratic ethics trumps all religions and all value systems. And so for John Dewey, it is the social contract of the people that pushes and guides ethics in society. So John Dewey was deeply concerned with his version of democratic ethics in society and passing this democratic ethics to the next generation. However, in continuity with his idea that democratic ethics is ethics determined by the community, John Dewey emphasized that ethics is never static. Ethics changes. So one generation may consider something as ethical. The next generation can decide in a democratic process that that is unethical, and the values of the current generation determines what is ethical for that generation. So although John Dewey wanted to pass on democratic ethics, what he was more concerned about was the process, passing on the process of democratic ethics, meaning that each generation can determine their own ethics for that generation in a continual evolution of changes in the ethical system in the United States of America. So the public school system was seen as a vehicle, at least, to pass on or enforce or guide that generation's perceived democratic ethics in the society and throughout the American communities. Public schools embraced John Dewey and has been running with John Dewey's perception of moral ethics, which is opposed to Christian systems or religious systems or the Bible, and which emphasizes social justice or morality or ethics based on what is perceived to be the dominant or majority view within a democracy. John Dewey did not only impact ethics in public schools or in the society at large in America. John Dewey emphasized pedagogical methodology. John Dewey said, quote, "Give the pupil something to do, not something to learn, and the doing is of such a nature as to demand thinking. Learning naturally results," end of quote. So it is John Dewey who is largely responsible for what is going on in the classroom today, that emphasizes using games and activities where students actually do things with their hands, and in the process of doing, they are presumed to be learning. And this is opposed to the past way of learning, which is emphasis that knowledge is passed down, that students have to read to learn, and it is by gaining that knowledge through books or the knowledge of the past that they are able to do. So the whole process of learning and the whole idea of learning has been flipped with John Dewey, and that is the current educational pedagogical fad in most public schools in the United States of America. And so we can see how much of an impact John Dewey had on ethics and pedagogy in the public school system. So in this sense, John Dewey is a historic figure in that he flipped the perception of morality and ethics in America, and he flipped the perception and engagement of learning from book-centered to activity-centered. And so John Dewey is highly influential in America today in the public school system. Here's the bibliography. There are a lot of books on John Dewey and a lot of articles, and recently a lot of articles have been championing his ideas, and we can see that from the bibliography.